So now today we're going to add a high score. And then we're going to display that high score on the screen, basically in the opposite side of score. So it's going to be on the upper right instead of the upper left where score is. So we're going to have to do a few things. First thing we're going to do is go to the control object. That's where we're going to be working all today. And we're going to go to specifically the create event. Okay. And in the create event, we have all these global variables we've already set up. Player score, player lives, game over. Hey, look, I have a high score there. I must have done that. I didn't mean to do that. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to delete it so I can add it again. So I'm just going to click the plus, and we're going to add a variable called high score. Okay. This is going to represent the current high score. And we're going to leave the value as 0 because we want to start the high score at 0 because nobody's played the game yet. We're not going to do like other games do in that we're going to have some populated list of high scores that has a bunch of arbitrary values that have some seemingly random names, although they're almost never random names. You'll find out that in video game coding, a lot of the names that get created are names of people who were part of the development of that game. So we have high score. We have the high score variable. Now we're going to actually add the high score variable, and let's display it on the screen first. And then we'll talk about how to actually make it update when it's time. So I'm going to double click on the draw event to go to the draw event. Man, I must have done this earlier. So we're going to put the high score on the upper right, which also means we're going to need to add a set text alignment block, because if we're going to put it in the upper right, we want it to be aligned to the right. So I'm going to go find a set text alignment block here. That is, I think I went too far down. But yep, I did. It's right here. So I'm going to drag that right under the draw value for the score. So the draw value block for the score, I put the set text alignment right there. I'm going to select right alignment. I'm still going to leave the vertical line as top because we are putting it at the top of the screen. And remember that means when I say right and top, that means that when I give the coordinates for where we're going to start drawing, the alignment will be relative to those coordinates. So if I do right and top, that means that whatever coordinates I give will be the upper right corner of the box that will have the high score in it. And now I'm just going to draw a value, which is this one here. That one we're going to go right under that set text alignment. The caption, of course, is going to be high score. And then the value, we're just going to use the high score value. Now, one thing I want to make sure is that my X is going to be the room width. Okay? And that's so that it'll draw it all the way to the right. I'm going to leave Y as 0 because I want it at the top. And again, we set the alignment to top and right so that the coordinates I give are the upper right corner of where the text is being drawn. Okay? We did the same thing for score. We left it at 0, 0 because we were drawing it in the upper left, which is 0, 0. Now, if you haven't done this, you might want to make sure you do this. Add a set text alignment. for left and top before the draw value for score. Because here's what's going to happen. If you set the text alignment here, and then the next time that the draw event runs, the text alignment will be set to right top. So when it gets here, if this text alignment is not here, the next time it gets to the draw value for score, it's going to draw the score using top right text alignment, which will make the score essentially disappear. So you got to make sure you have a set text alignment here ahead of both this draw value and then one ahead of this draw value. And we can see, even without updating the high score, we can see that the high score will appear. If I run it real quick. There's a space between the high and the score, and there's a space after the colon in high score. Okay, so again I click start here. What's going on? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Austin. Good. Yep, you're right. So, our value has to be global.highscore. I forgot about that part, that we used a global variable. So, the value needs to be global.highscore. If yours works, then you probably didn't make it a global variable, which may or may not be good. Now if I run it, it should show the high score. Okay, so I click start, yep, and it shows the high score on the right, shows the regular score on the left. Okay, now I could play and it would update my score, it just wouldn't update my high score yet until I add the code that I'm going to add to update the high score. And basically, here's how it works. When we end the game, which we check for in the step event, it's right here. Right? And the way we end the game, at least the way we know the game is over, is we check the global game over variable. And if global.gameover is true, then we need to start the game over, but now we need to update the high score. And there's some very tricky things we have to do, because if we were to simply restart the game, high score would reset, and that's not good. On top of that, our control object only starts in room level 1. Right? There's no control object in the menu. The menu is just there for us to get to the first level. Here's where the actual control object is. So here's what we have to change. Go back here. So instead of restarting the game in the step event, we have to, 1, go back to level 1. 2, we have to change all the variables that have to do with starting the game over so that they start back at their original values. So I have to start over speed, lives, and score. As well as, I think go is taken care of. But for game over, we have to add code so that the lives, score, and the speed start over. Then we also have to update the high score and check, which we have to do before we reset the score. Otherwise, our high score is always going to be 0, and that's not good. So, first thing we're going to do, we got to get rid of the restart game. We don't need it. Instead, we're going to add a go to room. It's the one that has the arrow down. So it's the square with the down arrow. So one of the things to note when you go to a room, if it's a persistent object in the room, no matter which room you go to, it's not going to restart the object. So we are just going to pick level 1. Okay. Delete restart game. We don't want it anymore because restart game, the problem with restart game is it restarts all the variables and stuff, and it'll restart high score as well. So we don't want to do that. We want to only redo the variables that we want to do. Plus, we don't necessarily need to go back to the menu. We just need to start over at level 1. So that's what we're doing. Now we need an if variable block. So I'm going to scroll all the way up to find the if variable block. Actually, I'm sorry. We're finding a new block. We're using the if expression block. So this is new. So the if expression block looks like a little diamond, but there's a little E inside for expression. So the blank one is the if variable. The other one's called if expression. So I'm going to add that one below the go-to room. And you'll notice all you have available now is an expression. Okay, which you need to type in. You ready for our expression? It's actually pretty simple. Global.playerscore greater than global.highscore. Because we know what that means. Global.playerscore greater than global.highscore. Is the player's score higher than the current high score? And if it is, we are going to set a global variable. This time I don't need the global because I have the global variable block. I'm just going to use high score. Now here's the challenge, right? So when I use a variable name here, the set global variable block assumes this is a global variable. So I don't need to give the global dot. Down here though, because this is a value and because this is not assuming, the value does not assume that what I'm giving is a global variable, I actually have to use the global dot for that one. And we're going to use player score because we want to set the current high score value to whatever the player's score is. Yep. Okay, give me just a little bit more here and then I'll finish. So we also need to reset the other variables so that when we restart the game. So we're going back to level 1. We have to reset the global variables. So this one I'm dragging out, but I'm dragging it out below the if, not attached to the if. So we have 3 global variables. Player score, that needs to get reset to 0. Player lives, that needs to get reset to 3. And then we need speed. Is that? Or no, that was the ball speed. I don't think we need speed. Is there any others? Oh, we need to switch game over back to false. So there was one more, but we need game over false. Okay. So we need to add game over, and we're going to set it to false. So now, here we go. Start. So I'm just going to play for a moment, long enough to get a few points. So now, you notice, restarts the room, high score is updated. That's it.